The police officer asked me one question the moment I answered the phone. Ma'am, is your 5-year-old daughter supposed to be alone inside Target? My heart stopped. 20 minutes earlier, my older sister had smiled, grabbed my daughter's hand, and promised she'd take her shopping for Grandpa's birthday gift. Instead, she drove home alone. When I demanded to know where Emma was, my sister shrugged and said, "Relax. I left her at Target." My mother actually laughed. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten anyone. I called exactly one person. 30 minutes later, my sister's inheritance was gone forever. My name is Rachel Carter, and I'm 36 years old. If there's one thing I've learned as a mother, it's that your instincts never really turn off, especially when your child is involved. My daughter, Emma, was 5 years old, the kind of little girl who waved at strangers, hugged everyone goodbye, and believed every grown-up in her family would always keep her safe. I believed that too. My grandfather, Emma called him Grandpa Ben, absolutely adored her. Every Sunday, she'd sit beside him with crayons while he read the newspaper, asking endless questions about every picture she saw. He always answered every single one. Not everyone loved that bond. My older sister, Melissa, constantly joked that Emma was Grandpa's favorite. She never sounded like she was joking. Our mother always brushed it off. "You're imagining things," she'd tell me. "Melissa just hates being ignored." That explanation never made me feel any better. The Saturday everything fell apart was Grandpa Ben's 78th birthday. The whole family gathered at his house before dinner. While we were decorating the backyard, Melissa suddenly smiled at Emma. "How about you and I run over to Target?" she asked. "We can buy Grandpa a birthday card and maybe a little surprise." Emma's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Of course," Melissa said, grabbing her keys. I hesitated. Melissa and I weren't close, but she was still Emma's aunt. She'd never given me a reason not to trust her with something as simple as a shopping trip. I kissed Emma on the forehead. "Stay with Aunt Melissa the whole time." "I will, Mommy." They drove away laughing. About an hour later, I heard Melissa's car pull into the driveway. She walked inside carrying 3 shopping bags. Alone. I looked behind her. No Emma. My stomach tightened. "Where's Emma?" I asked. Melissa tossed her purse onto the couch without even looking at me. "Oh." She shrugged. "I kind of forgot her at Target." For a second, I honestly thought she'd made a terrible joke. "What?" I said she'll be fine, Melissa replied with a smirk. She was looking at toys. I figured someone would help her. Before I could react, my mother actually laughed. "Honestly," she said, waving a hand dismissively, "Dad gives that little girl too much attention anyway." The room suddenly felt silent. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't waste a second arguing. Instead, I picked up my phone and called Grandpa Ben. He answered on the second ring. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" I took one slow breath. "No, Grandpa." Melissa left Emma alone at Target. His cheerful voice disappeared instantly. "Stay where you are," he said quietly. "I'm handling this now." The second Grandpa Ben ended the call, he started moving. I heard him telling someone to get his car keys before the line went dead. At the same time, I grabbed mine. "I'll get Emma," I said. Melissa rolled her eyes. "You're acting like I abandoned her in the wilderness." I didn't answer. Some arguments aren't worth having when a child is waiting for her mother. The drive to Target felt longer than it really was. Every red light seemed to last forever. I kept imagining Emma standing alone, wondering why no one had come back. When I finally reached the store, a customer service employee spotted me before I even reached the desk. "Are you Emma's mom?" she asked. My heart nearly stopped. "Yes." A warm smile spread across her face. "She's safe." A few seconds later, Emma came running toward me with tears in her eyes. "Mommy." I dropped to my knees and wrapped my arms around her as tightly as I could. "I thought Aunt Melissa forgot me forever," she whispered. I held her a little tighter. "I'm here now. You're safe." The employee quietly explained what had happened. Emma had waited exactly where Melissa told her to stand. When several minutes passed and no one returned, she became frightened. A store employee noticed she was alone and stayed with her while management followed company procedures to locate her family. I thanked every employee I could find. Before leaving, the store manager asked one question. Would your family be willing to review the security footage? It may help explain what happened. I agreed. A manager escorted us into a small office. The video began playing. Melissa and Emma walked through the toy department together. Emma stopped for only a moment to look at a stuffed animal. Melissa looked back. She clearly saw Emma. Then she glanced around, turned her shopping cart, and calmly walked away without saying a word. She never looked back again. There was no confusion, no accident, no searching, just a deliberate decision. That evening, our entire family gathered at Grandpa Ben's house. No one spoke much. Grandpa connected his laptop to the television. Without a single speech, he played the security video. The room was completely silent. Melissa stared at the floor. Even our mother couldn't find an excuse. After the recording ended, Grandpa folded his hands. I spoke with my attorney this afternoon, he said calmly. Actually, we've been reviewing my estate plans for several weeks. Melissa looked up hopefully. Grandpa's expression never changed. But after what I witnessed today, he paused long enough for everyone to understand the weight of his words. I've made my final decision. Grandpa Ben looked around the living room before speaking again. I've spent my entire life believing that character matters more than promises, he said quietly. Today, I watched someone I love make a choice that could have ended very differently. Melissa finally found her voice. Grandpa, I said I was sorry. He nodded. I heard your apology. She took a hopeful step forward. So, we're okay? Grandpa slowly shook his head. Forgiveness and trust are not the same thing. The room became perfectly still. I've instructed my attorney to remove you as the executor of my estate, he continued. The portion I intended to leave under your responsibility will now be directed elsewhere. Melissa's face lost all color. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. Our mother stood up immediately. Dad, you're punishing her over one mistake. Grandpa looked directly at her. No. His voice stayed calm. I'm responding to a decision. He turned toward Melissa again. You didn't lose my confidence because Emma wandered away. You lost it because the security video showed you walking away while knowing exactly where she was. Melissa wiped tears from her eyes. I wasn't thinking. That's exactly what worries me, Grandpa replied. Responsible people think before they leave a 5-year-old behind. No one argued after that. There simply wasn't anything left to say. Over the next few months, Grandpa worked closely with his attorney to finalize every change. He established a college education trust for Emma that could only be used for her future schooling. He also directed part of his estate toward children's literacy programs, explaining that investing in young lives would always matter more than rewarding poor judgment. Melissa called several times, hoping he would change his mind. He always answered politely. He accepted every apology, but he never reversed his decision. As for my mother, she slowly stopped defending what had happened. One afternoon, she quietly admitted, I should have taken Emma's safety seriously from the beginning. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was honest. Life gradually became peaceful again. The following year, on Grandpa Ben's birthday, Emma spent weeks making him a scrapbook filled with drawings, family photos, and handwritten notes she'd carefully practiced. When she handed it to him, his eyes filled with tears. He hugged her tightly. This, he said with a smile, holding the scrapbook against his heart, is worth more than anything money could ever buy. Driving home that evening, Emma asked why Grandpa smiled so much whenever he saw her. I squeezed her little hand. Because kindness is the greatest inheritance anyone can leave behind. Looking at her bright smile, I realized Grandpa hadn't protected his legacy that day. He had protected the values he wanted our family to remember long after he was gone.